What's up, everybody? Sorry about the delay there. There was a slight glitch in the fabric of space-time, but we are caught up and only 1 minute behind. Sorry about that. The issue was entirely my fault. We had a shortage of the right kind of cables today, and I had to patch things together any way I could. So today we're talking about reimplanting traumatically amputated insect limbs and why that's important. And I'm going to show you all of the tricks. I have a volunteer from the audience, a very attractive tiger beetle, who stepped in to let us use him for this particular experiment. Let me see if I can find a picture of him. That's not him. There he is. And yeah, that's me over here. And there's our tiger beetle. We've got to look at him under the microscope, which will help. And then we've got to look at him through a macro lens from the other side. So we're going to get a really good look at how you fix these limbs. If you count his limbs, you'll notice he's got 4 or 5. He needs 6. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We'll be getting into that in just a minute. A couple of brief announcements I want to make first. I'm assuming that you did not hear any of the first little bit, so I'm going to repeat myself. This may well be the last live stream that I do from this location. I will give you more details as soon as I know, but I am probably going to be in the process of actively moving over the next few days. So there is a chance that there will not be a live stream next week, a full live stream anyway, but I'll find a way to somehow give you an update over the phone, whatever needs to be done. But just bear with me. I will keep you posted, and I will let you know exactly what's going on through the Walls app and on my website. On Tuesday, I announced that pretty much everything is going to be switching over to my website as the holding area for all of my content. That is just because of the whole B&H affiliate relationship that I now have. I wanted to be able to share B&H ads with you. And I can't do that on any of the other platforms, so we're going to do it on my website. It won't really be any different for you. From now on, what will happen is, instead of having a full article on Patreon, you're just going to have the title and a link. You click on the link and it takes you to the full article. It'll look exactly the same as if you were on Patreon, only it'll be on my website. And the same goes for everything else that you do. When you click on content of mine, except YouTube, which will still be where it normally is, it'll just take you to my website and it should be seamless. The ads are selected by me, and they are carefully chosen to show you stuff I want to show you. They're not gonna show you jogging trousers and things like that. Unless somebody requests it. So that is what is going on. Now, I have written 2 lengthy articles this week, and both of them have vanished into thin air. The first one was an article based on this insect's life story. It was about pinning, and it had a bunch of nice pictures in it, and the whole thing vanished. I've still got all the copy, but I have to reformat everything. I don't know what's going on with Squarespace, but I saved it and it disappeared. And then the same thing happened yesterday for a patron special, a Patreon only thank you gift for all of my supporters, was the completed checklist set. I have a set of 4 extreme macro stacking checklists. You have to read the preamble to understand why there are 4, but they are as comprehensive as you'll ever see anywhere. It's taken me my whole macro career to write these things, and it's everything you would want to know in one document. And this was something I've been working on for a long time, and I wanted to give it to you by way of saying thank you for your supporting me. But there was a problem, first of all, in getting tables. There isn't a way to make a table in Squarespace. You have to go through hoops to do it. And I did all those hoops, and then last night I hit save, and I came and checked it this morning, and it was gone. There's just a hole there where it used to be. So I don't know what it is. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. I'm probably going to have to rewrite it, and I may not be able to do it until I have concluded this move, so bear with me. Next week is a presume week. This week is not. I would say that the way things are looking, it's going to be very unlikely that I do a presume next weekend. So I will make up for that. If that happens, I'll notify you and I will make up for it. So just giving you a heads up. Things are going to be a little disrupted for the coming week. All right, let me see. Just a couple of other things I wanted to mention. Yes, remember on Tuesday I showed you these overhead projectors that I found at the thrift shop? I found two of them. Let me show them to you real quick. They're quite a sight to behold. They're over there by the window. Those things. Two of them. And Patrick got in touch because I had mentioned disassembling them. They're prisms, by the way. Yeah, you knew that already. So the idea was, if I could get one of them to work, I was going to disassemble it and put a macro lens on it so that I could use it for stereo video display, just for fun, to do stuff with. And he immediately got in touch and said, don't you dare do that. They cost $600 a piece, and they're beautiful. They've got great cameras in them and good zoom and everything. And so I looked it up last night, where I found the software to run them both, as well as I found plugs that would work with them. So they've got power and software, and it turns out they cost $1,800 a piece. Yeah, $1,800 for these things, and they appear to work. So, very exciting day at the thrift shop, I'd say. In his usual way, Rick was a little bit less enthusiastic than I was about the possibilities, but I think he'll come around. We'll just have to see, one way or the other. But anyhow, let me see. Zeno asked me, is it Zeno? You changed your name an awful lot, sir. I just wanted to be absolutely sure. I think it is Zeno. You asked me to find you a newt trainer or a newt farmer. I guess you could call it both. And I am delighted and excited to be able to announce to you live today on the program that no, I wasn't able to find one, because I don't think they exist. But I asked around, and I got a lot of funny looks, but no newt farmers came forward. So from this end of the country, I'm afraid you're out of luck. Keep looking, keep looking. Problems in paradise, we've already discussed the problems with the website articles. I'm going to get all of that ironed out. Don't be panicky about it. Everything else stays the same. Patreon stays the same. It's just you won't read stuff there, you'll just go to my website from there. But everything else, the messaging, everything else stays the same. The Walls app, still the same. That's where you go to drop off your pictures for competitions. Everything the same. It's different on the back end. Hopefully you won't notice. Videos. This is not a good sign. That is Alistair, and I probably need to get him to send me a text, Alistair, if you could, because I can't talk on the phone while I'm doing this. But there's obviously a problem. Let me see what it is. Slight echo. Sound is muffled. Okay, how about if we just switch over and try this. I know that this sound will be better. This is the ID4, but I'm going to have to switch to another microphone when I go back to the microscope, and it'll probably be muffled then too. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why we are having problems today. Well, I do know why. It's just one of those things. Okay, I've increased the volume of my microphone. Let's see if that helps. Okay, so can you hear me now? Let me know if you can hear me now. And slight echo.
This is the Frankenstein episode, he says. Yes, it is. Very much so. They all are, but much, much better, says Alistair. Okay, thanks very much. And that was you calling, I take it. Thank you for doing that. That made me look up at the messages. There are 3 questions that were asked by Azam, and I want to answer them because they're pertinent to today, and they're interesting questions with interesting answers. He wanted to know, first of all, Azam, your name is unfamiliar to me. Is this are you a first-time visitor? If you are, welcome. We come here and do this because of you. I mean, it's you new guys that are just coming into macro that we get excited about, because that's, we want to show you how to do it, because that's how we get better. So you asked, do the dead insects sold on websites that I feature on the channel still retain their fine details, making them suitable for super macro photography? Yes. But let me not just say yes. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. When you buy an insect, there's a good chance that insect was caught a year ago, maybe even longer than that.
This wasp from the Mekong Delta in Vietnam was caught over a year before I purchased it. And it was not in very good shape when it came out of the packet, and I washed it and got it cleaned up and pinned it and photographed it this week. That is the result. Is that enough fine detail? That you'd have to be the judge of that. I think it is. Let me show you another example of another photograph I took. Same thing, this one's over a year old as well. This is one of my favorite photographs of the last few years, and I took this week as well. This is called a glittering weevil. It's from South America, and I bet you're having problems with the microphone again, but I'm going to leave it on the wireless mic. Alistair, if you just drop me a message and tell me whether or not this is okay, because this is what I'll be using with the microscope in just a second. So I'll check that message in a minute. So this glittering weevil is only about a centimetre long in total. That's pretty small, and I would have to say that the detail is preserved in this quite nicely. Let me zoom in a bit more. You tell me, is that enough detail for you? Are you looking for more fine detail than that? You said the dots in the eyes. Pretty good, I would say. So that's what you can get. This is at 1:1. You asked about 3:1. The answer is yes. The detail will be preserved. Let me show you one other picture. Also caught about the same time, 9 months I think previously. This is another weevil, one of my favorites. And again, the shot at 1:1. And I would have to say that there's quite a lot of detail there. In fact, there is a lot of detail in here. I like this one. Pretty. So the answer is yes, of course. These purchased insects, if you prepare them correctly, and that's very important. You have to wash them, dry them, position them, and light them really well to see all of the detail. But yes, absolutely you can do that. No question about it. So I wouldn't even hesitate when it comes to buying insects. You're going to get some duds, and you're going to see today that some of the insects you get are going to be very, very fragile and will break. The same goes for anything else you're buying from overseas. You kind of don't know what you're going to get till it arrives. I receive some pretty horrible insects from abroad, but I also receive some of the best ones I've ever seen, best ones I've ever photographed or purchased. Some of them are. So that's just the way it goes. But in general, I wouldn't recommend them on the channel if I didn't think you were going to get good bugs. So these are all from Insect Trade EU. The last shipment I got, the one that is going off to the original purchaser of these insects in a few days, also going to be delayed a little bit, I'm sorry to say. These were purchased, and they weren't
It wasn't the best batch I've ever had. I've had a lot of decapitations and limbs falling off. It's a bit of a dodgy collection, to be honest. I've had better, but they've all been fixable and they've all been photographable. So there's that. You had two other questions, and I'm going to answer both because you asked them. Is magnification of 1 to 3 sufficient to reveal the smallest detail and dots on the eyes of insects? I would say 1 to 3 is sufficient to get close enough to see that the compound eye is made up of curved spherical surfaces. Yes, you'll be able to get all that detail. I would say that to see the fine detail of the eye, I mean the really intricate detail, 5 to 1 would be better, 10 to 1 would be a little better still. So it's all relative. If you've never photographed a bug's eye before, 1 to 3 is going to blow your socks off. So I would absolutely start at 1 to 3 and, well, actually start at 1 to 1. You're going to be happy with that. 1 to 3 is actually quite a lot of magnification. If you think about it, your sensor is, if you're using a full frame camera, is 36 millimeters across. So at 10 to 1, you're talking about a subject filling the frame that is only 3.5 millimeters across. That might be half the size of a dragonfly's eye. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of detail. I think you'll be happy with it. Your third question, what are your thoughts about utilizing the RF100 1 to 1.4 lens with the Raynox 250? Would this combination suffice for creating super macro images of minuscule insects? It would be a relatively poor choice of setups for that purpose. The diopter you're talking about using is really designed to be used with longer lenses, and it's really not designed to be used with macro lenses. Macro lenses are best used the way they're provided to you, at the magnification they're provided to you. Because of the intricate construction of these lenses, they generally don't work in reverse, and they generally don't do well on extension or with diopters. You can use diopters, and I have used them on my 100mm, my 90mm lenses from time to time. They add relatively little in terms of magnification, but they add a relatively significant amount of aberration and geometric distortion. So it's not the best way to go. You'd be better off using that same relay lens with a standard telephoto or even a zoom lens of a longer focal length, 200mm say. That will give you a little bit more magnification than using a macro lens, but I would use the macro lens as a macro lens. If you want to go higher than that, buy a specialized macro lens like the lovely Laowa, the 2.5 to 5 times f2.8 lens that is so much fun to use. There's another one, the Astra Hori, that's I hope that's the way you pronounce it. It's not a very flattering name, but that is a lens that I haven't tried yet. A friend wanted to get me to try it, but he uses a Sony mount, so it wouldn't have worked for me. But it's a lens that is obviously been built to go head-to-head with the Laowa lens, and I don't know how good it is, but I look forward to getting my hands on one day. Other options, buy a cheap microscope objective or use a 50mm prime lens and put it on extension. There are many ways to get magnification, and most of them are better than what you're thinking about doing. Just saying. Okay, I've written articles on that and done videos on that. So if you're over on my website, you can do a search and that'll show up the articles if you do that. It's under articles and videos is the heading on the website. The website is under kind of active reconstruction in that it's still up. All the pages are up except the ones that I've taken down, and I'm rewriting some of the content. So it's going to gradually change form. But again, not for the next week. It won't be doing much of anything for the next week. Okay, we're going to have to get over to the microscope. There's work to be done. And did I mention? Yeah, I did. I mentioned about the missing articles. Okay, so I think I have covered everything that I wanted to tell you about. I did. So what we're doing today is, I had a bug. Would you like to see him? I bet you would. This is the victim for today. It's a tiger beetle from Africa, and he was terribly dirty and brittle and dry, and kind of irredeemably so. I carefully rehydrated him with. I did a rapid rehydration with put him in a small closed chamber with an espresso cup full of hot water, which is my short version of relaxing one of these things. That really didn't give me the limberness that I wanted, so I went ahead and did a full 2-day relaxation. And in the process, bits of him started falling off, including his head and a couple of his extremities and a foot. Now, I put everything back on, and then another leg fell off, and I thought, you know what, this is too good an opportunity. It's the second appendage on the left side is completely off. So I want to show you today how I go about putting one of those back on in such a way that you can neither see it in the photograph that results or suspect it from the way the limb looks. So we're going to go over to the microscope to do that, and you're looking at 3 views. One of them I may just turn off, but then again I may just show you the back of my head. Let me get that one set up a little differently. That was just to give you some context, because I'll be looking the other way. This is the microscope on the bottom right. Couldn't get a clean HDMI out. Don't know why. It's something to do with Fuji. I keep forgetting how to use the thing, but yeah, it's still a better picture, and that's at minimum magnification, so we'll pump that up a bit higher. And this is just a shot with my trusty APS-C camera and my old 85mm macro lens from Nikkor. This is one cracker of a good lens. My chair's in the way, so you won't be able to see it. And hopefully you can hear me on this mic. Let me see what Alistair says. Okay, but slight reverb. Okay, I wonder if that's because I've got another microphone on. I don't think it is. So hopefully this is okay for sound now. This is what we're going to use, unless there's a problem, in which case we'll just unplug the whole thing. So there's a question just came in. Let me answer that real quick. It's, I don't know who's asking this, Joseph or Zeno. I found a local reptile show this weekend. Oh, you mean for your newt farmer? Well, good for you. I mean, I don't know that we have those type of shows down here, but I guess if we did, I could find one too. Sound is okay, it's acceptable. Okay, well, I'm sorry that's all it is, but there must be something else that I could do better, but yeah, I did test it beforehand, so we'll go with it for now. Alright, how many hours does it take for a dragonfly's eyes to stop flickering in alcohol? What an interesting question. You're going to have to explain to me what you mean by flickering. If you put a dragonfly, presumably a dead dragonfly, in alcohol, its eyes shouldn't do anything. If they're flickering, yeah, explain to me what you mean by that, and I'll be able to give you an answer. Generally speaking, the longer the thing has been dead, the more opaque its eyes are going to become, and eventually you end up having to abandon the alcohol, switch to soap and water, and if that doesn't work, switch to a powerful surface acting agent
like Decon 90, which will restore even badly damaged eyes. You'll notice that this guy has badly damaged eyes that I intend to spruce up with some Decon 90. I may do that today if we have time. But let me switch over and move over there and show you what we've got. Alistair, I am not going to be able to see my messages for just a second, but I'll check back by in a minute. If there are any issues with sound or video, please let me know so I can adjust them. And I'm going to turn the other way and go over to the workstation. So hopefully you can still hear me, and now you can see what I am seeing. I had this on the television earlier on, and it's just occurred to me that I actually can't see very much of anything the way I've got this set up. Not to worry. So we don't have hardly any magnification here, but if we zoom in on this eye and get it a little bit better focused, you'll see what I mean. Let me see if I can get some more light in here. All right, so was that what you meant by flickering eyeballs? Possibly. So there, we'll zoom back out a little bit. I think that's going to be enough light. So let me show you what the problem is. This appendage, the second appendage, is broken off, and it's a little hard to see whether or not it's left a stump. I think that probably you can see now that yes, it has. It's left a stump. So it's actually broken off at the first joint, not with the abdomen itself, but after the first joint. So there's a little piece of appendage, and then the rest of it's missing. Well, the first thing you have to do is find the rest of the appendage, and I was fortunate. I found it stuck to my shirt. Here it is. I think I'm going to swing the microscope across to show it to you. Hang on a sec. Got to loosen up a couple of bolts. So, let's get some more light on that. There you can see it. We'll try to focus a little better and zoom in. Beautiful, beautiful appendage. It's the colors are lovely, blues and greens, some red in there on the other side. I'm afraid you're getting some blinkies, but yeah, there ought to be a way to turn them off, but I haven't figured it out. So, a couple of things worth noting about this appendage that we're getting ready to re-implant. First of all, it has two distinct sides. It has an outside that will face the outside of the insect. It's what we'll see, and it has an inside. And we want to make absolutely sure that we put it back on in a way that is consistent with the other side. So we have to examine the bug on the other side, make sure that the appendage is going to look right when it goes back on. That's the first thing. The second thing is, this is fairly large compared to what I had to do with another weevil this last weekend, which was put its foot back on. If your tweezers are not up to the challenge, you are not going to get it done. And that's the first thing I want to talk about briefly today. I know we've talked a lot about sharpening in the past, but I want to show you, hopefully you can see with this other camera, the device that I use for sharpening. And you've seen this before several times, I know. I'm going to look behind me just to see what that looks like on the screen. Yeah, you can kind of make it out. It's a piece of metal. It's just a piece of sheet metal that I cut with some snips or a saw, can't remember. It's steel, just a strip of steel that I have glued with contact cement. A piece of 600 grit sandpaper on one side, the dark side, and on the
other side a piece of 1200 grit sandpaper, wet dry sandpaper in both cases. Now what I do, and this is what's really important, one of the take-home messages here, when you're sharpening your tweezers to manipulate an appendage, it is crucial that the tips of the tweezers come together, but the bit right behind the tip does not. In other words, they need to be pinching together at the tip, not halfway up the grabby bit. That's important because otherwise you don't have accurate control. And the way you do that is using one of these. Now, I showed on Tuesday using one of these fingernail sanding blocks that I found and now have lost. Again, hang on. I had it in my hand literally a few minutes ago. It's just a block of foam that has this fine material on it that is like a sandpaper, but it's very, very fine. It's great, but you need to peel the sandy bit. Oh, here it is. So this is what I did, was I peeled the abrasive part off the block and stuck it on a ruler so that I could get my tweezers around it. This is fine, but it has a grit of about 3,000, I'm guessing. So it's more for polishing than it is for removing material. This will remove material. So I've already done this, and let me just show you very quickly how I go about sharpening the tweezers. I take the tweezers and hold the points together like so, and I recontour the outside. That means with the 600 grit, I'll go from side to side on one side, then I'll turn it over, do the same on the other side, and then I'll do the same on both edges. And notice that I'm just gently holding the tips together. I'm not squeezing hard. That will create an outside profile on the tweezers that will be very effective for keeping the bulk of the end of the tweezers low. The hardest part is now sharpening the inside of the tweezers so that there is a shelf behind the tip. The way you do that, let me make sure that you can see that. It's a little hard for me to see because there's quite a bit of lag. Maybe under the microscope would be easier. Let me try that. Oh, let me see. Bear with me, guys. Yes, you can. Okay, good. Right, so let me focus up just a little. I ought to probably move that bug's leg, but I'm going to leave it like this. So what I do is I start off, I'm holding the tweezers apart at the tip. I go to the top part of the tweezer, the top point, and I give the whole thing a flattening sharpen like this. And I'm keeping it completely flat, and I'm not towing it up. It's I've lost the leg. I brushed off the end of the block. Not to worry. So I'm sharpening I'm flattening one side, then I turn it over, flatten the other side, like so. When that is completely flat, they'll come together down the length of the tweezer a little bit, and I don't want that. So I switch to the finer grit, then I take my tweezer and I put the point just off the edge of the sandpaper like this, and then I sharpen here, or I abrade it here. What this does is it puts a little hollow right behind the tip, and I'll go down about 2 millimeters, up and down, and over again, until when I'm finished with that, I have a razor sharp tip that meets only at the tip. Do you see that? I hope you can appreciate. That's about as good a look as we're going to get. But when you bring the tips together, they touch at the tip and not behind it. That is what you're looking for. And when that is the case, you'll be able to pick up the finest piece of tissue that you're ever going to need to work with in macro photography. In this case, it's a fairly robust appendage that we're working with. But the trick is certainly to pick it up at the end so the tweezers are opposing on either side. Now, a couple of important things. Let me see if I can show you that a little bit better. Maybe if we zoom out again. Right. A couple of important things of note. This is a hairy section of the extremity, and we don't want to do anything to disrupt the pattern of the hairs because it will stick out like a sore thumb. So when we're grabbing and when we're applying glue, we stay away from the hairs. Okay? Now the next thing to do is to look at the bug and look at the other side of the bug. So I'm going to move my little mini dissecting block, which is a piece of closed cell foam rubber. I'm pulling some pins out that I use to anchor it. There we go. So I can move it out of the way for a second and show you the bug. So I'll slide him in, and let's see if we can get some better light on that. So this is the bad side. This is the side we're going to be fixing. Get him in better focus. There we go. Let's flip him over and look at the good side so we can examine the other extremity. Now, the first thing you're probably going to notice is that one looks like it's getting ready to fall off too. It is. It's the only other one that hasn't been glued back on, and it is at an odd angle, you'll see. It is not long of this world. It may fall off just with me demonstrating it. But this is the appendage we're replacing on the other side. See how the yellow and red part of the appendage is facing out? That is exactly what we need to copy on the other side. Notice also how the first section, is actually the second section of the appendage, is fairly flat against the body and then angles down. We want to try to mimic that as well. We want some kind of symmetry here. Notice how the foot at the end is faced in. That is so important with beetles that if you get this wrong, you can end up with the beetle with his foot facing the wrong way, and that's as comfortable to look at as a picture of a supermodel with her feet pointing the wrong way. It just doesn't look right. So what we need to do then is a dry run. It's the first thing I do when I'm putting an appendage back on is just position the bug, and what I'm doing to position the bug is, of course, the ball of blue tack on a 3/0 pin through the thorax that also has glue on it, so it holds very firmly, and I can angle it in such a way that it's almost flat to the glass plate that I have him on. So he's only a few millimeters above the surface of the glass. That gives me a nice flat sideways look at the anatomy I'm going to fix. Let me see if I can get some more light out of this trusty BenQ. It looks like it's giving me its all there. That's a bit better. Okay, and I'll try moving the other light around. There. Does that help? I think so. How does it look on the broadcast? Not bad, except we're out of the picture on the other camera. I'll fix that. Oh, somehow. This is not easy. My producer is out of the office today, sick. Sick of me, I think. And I don't have a producer, so there's that too. Let me see if I can't get this shown to you properly. This is worth taking just a second to adjust. We've got so many blinkies, it's hard for me to see exactly where we are. There we go. Let's focus that. Ah, that's better, isn't it? Hard to say. Let's see what... Yeah, I'd have to say that looks a little bit better. Okay, so we'll do the dry run. We'll take the appendage, which has now been squashed by the light, not to worry, and we'll pick it up. You can't see this part, I'm doing it off camera. I'm picking it up and I'm going to take it over to the subject and kind of look at what I've got to deal with here. Now, I want the side that's going to be sticking out to be the red side. So I just flipped it over, and I'm going to pick it up where it isn't hairy towards the end, like that. You can't squeeze real hard because you will break the extremity into pieces and you'll have to glue it back together. Now, the red part is showing, but the leg is upside down. See what I mean by upside down? It's the first section, this section, should be heading horizontally back, and this then coming down. That's upside down. So I will need to flip it over and try something else. Hang on, I'm just trying to get the thing picked up the correct way. Don't want to show you the wrong way. So I'm trying to get the first section dependent, and that's the way I want it, right like that. See the red and the yellow now showing up? I hope you can see that. This is going to be glued right there to that nubbin. And you're thinking, that ain't gonna happen. Well, it is. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. So here's the most important thing that I'm gonna tell you out of this whole thing. You've heard it from me before. You'll hear it from me again. You need to use about 10% as much glue as you think you need to glue this back on. The more you use, the harder it will be to get it to stick. You want it to adhere the instant it touches the stump. If you have to hold it for 10 seconds for it to set, it's not going to set. It's going to fall off before you get there. Now, when I'm doing, this is the other take home. When I'm doing most things with a pin and glue, I dip the tip of the pin in the glue and I apply the glue, or I put the pin into the subject to hold it. This is one of the few times you need to use a different tool. What I like to use is a fine hypodermic needle, and probably the best size for putting an appendage back on like this would be something like a 29 or a 30 gauge. The reason for that is you can only use it once, but it will hold a little bit of glue in the end of the needle. Now, if your needle is, if your syringe is too bulky, and I also use these to kill large insects, and this one has been used for that and it gets a bit dirty, you can just go with the needle point like so, and this will act like a capillary tube, and it will draw up more glue than if the syringe is attached, but it is a little more accurate. The bevel will be where the drop forms. So this is what I'm going to use, just the tip. And if you're more comfortable, you can take a pair of pliers and bend the blunt end into an L shape. And I am going to do that because it helps me position it. So I'm going to grab my pair of pliers. Hang on. I will show you this as we do it, but I have to find the... it's somewhere there. You'll see it in a second. I have to find the pliers. Hang on just a moment. Chat amongst yourselves. I can't remember where I put them. Oh yeah, I remember now. I hid them underneath my gummy bears. Would you like one? I don't have many left, but you could always practice on a gummy bear. Alright, so what I'm going to do with my needle, let me see if I can show it to you. It is right here. Hang on. There. That's better. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pick it up at the blunt end. So that is the blunt end that I am holding right there, and then with my finger flat on the needle, I'm going to rotate the pliers against my finger like that, And what you end up with is a small L like so. This is a perfect glue applicator for putting appendages back on, as you'll see. I prefer to use the pliers now to hold it rather than the tweezers. Just gives you a little bit more purchase, and I hold it right there. This is now quite strong. It will do a vasectomy on a gummy bear, no problem at all. So let's prepare the glue. Now, another thing I do differently for appendages is because I need to make absolutely sure I don't over glue it. I use a metal plate to put my glue drop on. Well, I usually do, but I've lost it. It probably packed it. Hang on. I have a small piece of steel, a little rectangle of it, that I put the drop of glue on. I'm going to use the handle of my sharpener though, seeing as that's handy and I've lost the other one. So move those pins out the way. Let's see if you can now see that. It looks like you can't. That's okay. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit to the side and hopefully you can. Yep. That looks a little better. That looks a little better still. Okay, good. So take your glue. Now, I do not use the runny glue for this. I use runny glue a lot for intricate stuff. But in this case, I use the cheap old regular super glue. And I put one teeny tiny minuscule partial drop right next to the pin, like so. That right there is way more glue than you will be using. Let me see if I can show it to you under the microscope so you can see how small the blob is. Well, it actually looks quite big under the microscope. Yeah, that's not a very good example of how small it is because it's quite big. But okay, good. So what we're going to do is this. We'll go through the process. You're going to hold the pin in the glue long enough for it to soak up a little bit, like the groove on an ink pen, you know, a fountain pen. And then with the beveled part of the needle facing the stump. Let me show you what I mean. If you look under the microscope, in the microscope view, and I rotate the needle around, you can see that it has a flat part with a hole in it. That's where the bulk of the glue is going to be. That is what I need to apply to the stump, like so. Bang, right on the end there. And that will put just the right amount of glue on. Then I need to immediately apply the leg. An alternative option, which is harder to do and easier to mess up, is to put the glue on the appendage and then put the appendage on the stump. The reason I don't like that is it's not easy to control the amount of glue, and you tend to get glue on the hairs doing it that way. So the next thing I need to do is get my leg lined up in position. This is probably out of your field of view. What I'm doing is flipping it over so that I can pick it up in exactly the right orientation first time, and then I'll bring it up and show you. Actually, this will be worth showing you from the camera. So let me just swing over to the right place. There we go. You can see the leg and the bug. So what I would do is pick it up like so. Bang, lengthwise. So I'm holding the appendage lengthwise to the second segment, and that is exactly where it needs to go on the bug. See? Okay. Now this is where I'm going to have to go under the microscope. I'll show you another trick. I will put the bug. This is why I need a monitor in here. That's what I need, is so that I don't have to look around backwards. I'm going to put the leg on the blue tack so that it is in the position I need it when I go to pick it up.
I hope you can see that. So when I reach for it and pick it up, I will be picking it up in exactly the position it's going to be going on the stump. All right, so we're ready to begin. Get my tweezers are going to be positioned off to the side where I can. They're a little higher up than that. Again, it's worth showing you because where you position stuff will make a difference. There they are, right at the back of the sharpening block, but right where my hand is going to be when I put the pliers down. I'll put the pliers down and pick these up, and because you only have about 4 seconds, so you have to practice this. Alright, so let's go ahead and apply the glue. In fact, I'm going to use the tweezers for the glue, just because. Bevel down into the glue. Alrighty, it's facing a little bit in the wrong direction. There we go. Now, let me line up the bug. I'm already risking running out of time here because of the necessity of getting this camera positioned. Because if you can't see, there's very little point doing it, is there? There we go. Alrighty. I hope you can see okay. Alright, so I'm going to pick up the drop of glue straight up to the stump of the appendage. Don't hold it on too long. If you hold it on too long, the pin will stick. Got about 2 more seconds. Unfortunately, I'm not looking through the microscope and I can't see. The end of this leg has a hollow in it that I am putting onto the point that has the glue on it. No, I am going to have to look through the microscope to do this, guys. So let's say I've given up on that because the glue dried, which is the most common problem you're going to have. The next thing I do is I dip the leg. This is a definite second choice, but if I don't try to apply another drop unless it's a very big leg. I'm just position the leg in the right position, heading straight back. It's off camera, I know. I'm getting it positioned like so, which is the way we initially tried it. Now I'm going to look through the microscope. Oh, that makes such a huge difference to be able to see. Then I'm dipping the end in just the tiniest amount of glue straight up to the body, and this is without binocular vision, so I position it right on the stump, hold it for about 2.5 seconds and release, and that will set it. Don't much care for the angle, but it can work. It will work. Once this is fixed and hardened, I'll be able to bend this foot out into a more normal running position, and I can make him into an upright runner. So that's how you do it. If you looked very closely through the microscope, which I know you really can't see, well, maybe you can see a little better. If you look at the very end, you'll see that the end of the leg that I was putting back on was slightly hollowed out, and the part that I was putting it on had a slight protrusion, like a pin. So the glued leg slipped over that and it held instantly, and that's a good result. So that's a happy result right there. That will look pretty good. This leg needs to come down. The other leg on the back needs to come down, but I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem getting him posed. Honestly, he's not a very pretty guy. He's got terrible eye problems. from from his mistreatment over the last year. Let me show you his face. He's just not a good looking tiger beetle. His jaws are all wonky too, but his colours are magnificent, so there's that. He's got that going for him. Yeah, that's not a bad look at the old fella. He does look a bit wall-eyed though, as we say here in the south. All right, that's how you glue a leg back on. Bit of a mucky job, but yeah, could be worse. And
it is a lot of fun. The same technique works with antennae. You have to be just as careful with the antenna that you're putting it on the correct way, because there will definitely be a right way and a wrong way. I was looking at an antenna that Rick Littlefield photographed yesterday, an absolutely stunning photograph of the antenna of a drain fly, one of those tiny little buzzy flies that lives in drains. They have the most incredible antenna, and the one he had broken off, and putting an antenna like that back on is a real challenge, and they have a definite upside down and downside up, and you've got to get them exactly right or they look wonky. So my goodness, that took an hour. It doesn't take that long to actually do the repairs. The foot that I did was a lot more challenging. That was on a Eupholaus. Let me see if I can find him. Yeah, there he is. No, it was on the glitter beetle that I was telling you about, and yeah, I should have left him out. He's gorgeous, shiny little guy. I had a foot fall off this fellow as well, and I have not put it back on yet, but I'm going to have to put that back on before I send this on to its owner. You can see the foot loose there in the package. That was entirely my fault. Weevils have two hooks that face backwards from the foot, and they're sharp, and the hooks will get caught in anything. Any fabric or material will hold the hooks, and if you're moving them around on a cotton pad like this, you will pull their foot off if their hooks catch in the cotton. So you have to be terribly careful to lift the hooks out of the cotton before you move it and replace it. The good thing is, once you have it positioned on your cotton and you're trying to put a piece of plastic over the top and staple it down, the hooks hold it in position. It's not going anywhere. You could hold it upside down. Those hooks will hold it. Same goes for almost everything. You want to see some more of these cool insects? These are all things that I've photographed in the last week in preparation to sending. Look at that gorgeous little bee. Isn't that something else? And slightly less gorgeous bee, another carpenter bee, I think. Xylocopa. Look at this weevil. That's a little weevil, and he's shiny green and purple. Lovely. Here's what one of those delta wasps look like. This is the first picture that I showed of the flying wasp. That's what he looks like, and he was a lot flatter when I first opened the package. Here's a fresh one that I haven't yet photographed. It looks like a murder hornet, only it's small. Very flat, see? He'll plump up when he gets wet. Couple more gorgeous weevils. These guys are so much fun to photograph. Look at this tiger beetle. Teeny tiny and in terrible shape. He's going to be tough. Another beauty of a delta wasp. I wouldn't want to be swatting those off while I was eating my breakfast. We have these wasps around here. Typhid wasps or triphid wasps, something like that. Gorgeous little things with long abdomens. They don't sting very much. They're good to photograph. How about this? A jewel beetle. Not very much to look at on the top, but the underside of this is beautiful. Photograph that. I've already shown you that little weevil, my favorite weevil. I'm going to show you the rest of these while I'm doing it. This is the brother to the tiger beetle that we just butchered. And I have a feeling when I open this packet, his head and legs are going to fall off too, because he looks like he's from the same era. There's a bag of 5 or 6 hymenopterans, all very small. You're probably noticing something of a trend here. These bugs are small, smaller than last year's stuff for the bug study by a long way. Same species. Look, some of them are just minute. And I don't remember them being this small. Look at that little fella. Another woolly carpenter bee. This is an example of a really bad specimen that if I lived closer to the place, I'd send it back. He's all squashed. That's going to be very hard to get anything useful out of. There, that's all of them. You've just seen the entire order that I made. That's who was asking about bugs? That's $70 worth of bugs, including shipping. There's one more of those guys. I got 3 in total. There's another different kind of weevil with a long snout. Pretty. He's like an acorn weevil. Probably noticing all my bugs are small. That is by design. When I buy insects, I buy small ones, and that's always risky. They're the ones that are going to fall apart. But I enjoy photographing the smaller ones. So that's it, guys. We're done. We're out of time. I've got to stop talking. You've probably already gone home or back to bed or whatever you do. So thanks for watching. I'm going to quickly answer questions. You can go on and head on. Hernando Sportsman's Club's here. Would you recommend using ruling pens? Ruling pens to manipulate the bug parts. I don't know what a ruling pen is, so probably I wouldn't. But if I knew what it was, I might like it and recommend it. I really don't know what that is. Can you tell me a bit more? Crispy B is upset about the vasectomy on the gummy bear, doesn't think I should have done that. And he wants to know what kind of bears do they have in the US. Well, we have very virile bears that, they need to be attended to. Sound was okay. Good. And I never did answer the question about flickering dragonfly eyes. I know that I didn't give you a satisfactory answer, but I'm really not sure. Get in touch with me through the Walls app and explain that to me more, and I'll give you a better answer. So we're out of time. I will either see you next week or not. And if I don't, I'll be in touch. But as soon as everything gets settled and I'm have a studio and a place to talk to you from, I will be back with a vengeance. So don't forget that absence makes the heart grow fonder, and miss me while I'm gone, and I will see you back before you know it. So lots of great stuff coming up. I didn't get the video macro review of the 100mm macro cine lens finished, simply because it hasn't stopped raining and I haven't had a chance to. It was sunny yesterday, but I was too busy. So it'll be soon, and it may be from a different part of the world. So you'll see a new part of the world in the next video. Take care. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and be well. And thank you for watching. Adios. Oh, one last thing just occurred to me. If you're a Patreon person and you can't get into your Patreon page on my website, it's because you don't have the password. The password will have been sent to you through Patreon, so check that. Take care, everybody.